It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is Eric Dudas, and I'm joined, as always, by the co-host of Fully Threaded, a man who enjoys deep philosophical questions about the taxonomy of fasteners, Mr. Brian Musker. Brian, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. Actually, I'm not sure if I enjoy the deep philosophical questions. I just get given them, okay?
Well, you sure do spend a lot of time in that area.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
Hey, thanks for being with us, everybody. It's episode 12, and we've got another great one lined up for you. This edition of Fully Threaded Radio will be uploaded to the fullythreaded.com website on September 30th, 2010, and the lineup is as follows. We'll get things started with a conversation with the new Executive Vice President of the NFDA. He's Mark Lenhart, and he's going to introduce himself to us. Then we'll have a conversation with Vice President and Regional Manager for Fastenal, Mr. Gary Polipnick. He's the GM for the North Central region, and he's got some interesting insights into the industry and to Fastenal. I know everyone will find that to be quite an enlightening conversation. Then we'll move along to a conversation with Rob Lucas of Fidelis Fasteners, and, of course, the newly unveiled Global Fastener Network. He's going to tell us how that all operates and also dispel a couple of the misnomers that have been out there. And we had a great conversation with him. So thanks again for joining us, everyone. Before we get too far into it, don't forget we welcome your communication, and you can email us at the address ftr@fullythreaded.com. Look forward to seeing all your emails. We got some funny ones from the last episode. I know you were telling me about one that you received, Brian.
Yes, actually true, but I think that mainly related to the old Rusty Bolt commercial from episode 10.
Yeah, well, it got a pretty good reception, I'd say, and I thought what we would do is plug that in again today because some people apparently didn't hear episode 10, but the ones who did really liked it, so I think we're going to play it one more time.
Now, maybe they heard it, but they suddenly thought they'd gone to the wrong podcast.
You know, during the last episode, you also mentioned that Google had revised the way that they operate, and we got a little possible fallout from that. The traffic on the fastenersclearinghouse.com site in September, here we are closing the month out a little bit, and it was just a touch off this month, wasn't it? Do you think there was any fallout from the way that Google has kind of reinvented itself?
Well, I'm not sure. But certainly the search engine works differently, and in times I find it relatively infuriating now. The technology that Google's using, namely to sort of guess ahead of what you're typing, is the same technology as we use on Fasteners Clearinghouse to actually get the information back about the supplier when you click on one of the items on a search. It's called Ajax. And my own personal impression is that it leads you often to wrong searches more often than good ones. And associated with that, I saw a story, it wasn't reported in America, it was reported by the BBC, about a city in Florida which has disappeared off Google's search engine for the third time.
Oh, no.
And they say that this is the city of Sunrise, which is apparently somewhere down on the East Coast, around in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area, and it completely disappears, and Google's been redirecting people up to Sarasota, which of course is on the west coast of Florida, up by Bradenton. And so the people are saying that, there's nothing much they can do. They get hold of Google, and Google says, I'm terribly sorry. All the local business people say it has a dramatic effect on business. Clearly, there's no recourse, of course, because this is just simply a free service that we all have come to rely on.
That's right.
It's one of these sort of problems that shows you, I guess, how we rely on the search engines. And I'd remind you, of course, there's, Microsoft has its own search engine called Bing, which is not bad, actually. I mean, we've all got used to using Google, but the search engine Bing is a good search engine.
Well, they're doing a lot to promote it, and I think they're going to start gobbling up market share, so we should all keep our eye on that. Now, we mentioned that traffic might have been just a spot off during the month of September, but traffic was still pretty strong. I think overall the industry is a lot stronger than it was earlier in the year, that's for sure. And, of course, we do keep our eyes on that very closely at fastenersclearinghouse.com. And at this point, I'll just remind everybody that if you have not been using fastenersclearinghouse.com, you're very, very welcome to. We've got over 500,000 line items of fastener inventory in the database, and you're welcome to use it as a sourcing tool at no charge anytime the need arises. Now, we spend a lot of time improving the search engine, and I know, Brian, we've got one big new piece of functionality that we've been working on, and what's that all about?
Yes, this is something that we've been working on for a fair while now. We call it deep linking, and it really enables a link from a member's search result directly into the member's e-commerce page, so that people who are searching for items can click a link and buy the item directly through these search sites.
So we're kind of building up to the whole buy it now paradigm. Is that it?
Well, we are. We've had this in our sites for a long time now, but it requires really a lot of things to be in place. So we want to be able to provide that, and clearly the people who use Fasteners Clearinghouse want that. So we're getting there bit by bit.
Well, that's going to be an exciting capability to have. We've just got a small handful of inventory items that are enabled with deep linking so far, but that's going to be something that'll be building.
Yep. Yeah, we specially limited the test to make sure we could control it properly.
So keep your eye on that, folks. Just another brick in the wall for the FCH Sourcing Network.
All right.
Also, since the last episode, we had an interesting time at the NFDA meeting in Chicago. That was back on September 14th and 15th. It was a great meeting. We'll hear a little bit more about that from Mark Lenhart when we talk with him in the next segment. But one of the highlights, at least for me, was I had an opportunity to address the meeting on Wednesday the 15th, and I felt like it went really well.
Oh, no, I think it did. I think that the audience or the members that there had been primed a little bit from a talk that took place. It was a panel discussion the day before, which was encouraging the members to consider the fact that they should really think a little bit carefully about the web and its use as a social media item. Probably a little bit of a interesting and unique idea for some of the people there. But no, it was very good, and I think the people thought, okay, this is cool.
Right. And one of the cool things is that just recently I have procured recordings of the open sessions, and we're going to be playing those on episode 13 of Fully Threaded, which will be coming out sometime in early October. Not sure of the date yet, but stay tuned for that because we've got some of the highlights, and I think people are going to get a lot out of that.
Yes. Now, there was one of the panelists was a really interesting guy called David Penich, and he addressed particularly the impact of LinkedIn and various things, Twitters and things like that, but particularly the benefits of connecting through to these social media services.
That's right. Now, the NFDA is preparing to put a panel discussion together for the NIFS show in Vegas in November, and that's something that I'm looking forward to attending. Hopefully we'll be able to record that as well and broadcast that on an episode of Fully Threaded. And we've got a little bit coming up here in terms of events in the near future. You're heading out to Pac West when? Early October, isn't that right?
Actually, it's next week.
Wow.
I know. Weird, isn't it? We have a lot of our members are over in the West Coast. It's a pretty active association over there, so it just makes sense for us to go too.
And listeners can learn more about the Pacific West Fastener Association Fall Conference, which is being held in Olympic Valley, California, on October 6th through the 9th at the Pacific West website, and that's pac-west.org.
Yep.
So then the other thing we touched on briefly is the NIFS show in November out in Las Vegas. And in addition to the NFDA having a panel discussion, I think that's on Monday the 8th, we're also going to be doing a presentation on the show floor of the show.
Well, more correctly, you are, I believe. I'm going to be well out of the way.
Well, you'll be holding the booth down.
That's true.
But that'll be Tuesday afternoon on Tuesday the 9th, and apparently they have what they're calling an education forum on the show floor this year, and that's a new thing. So looking forward to that.
Now, is that in a separate room, do you know? I mean, is it somewhere on the floor? I'm not sure how they're going to run that.
Well, the way it's been explained to me is that they're actually putting a little seminar area on the show floor.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So the one piece of bad news that we have to mention regarding NIFS West is something that I was really shocked and unhappy to hear about, and that is that the whole rolling pub crawl idea really didn't fly. It looks like that is not going to come off.
Now, why do you think that is? Do you think it's because you put too much emphasis on it?
Well, I'm not taking any credit or blame, you know. I mean, I put that out front during the previous episode when we announced it. No, instead, I think what it is they just didn't get the response that they were hoping for, and so at least for this year, no pub crawl at NIFS West.
Wow. So what are we going to do with the spare space in our cube then?
Yeah, I know. We had a lot of emotional capital invested in that whole pub crawl.
Right, I know.
Oh, well, we'll make ourselves feel better and play the old Rusty Bolt commercial during the first break. And with that, why don't we get this episode underway, starting off with our conversation with Mark Lenhart.
Okay, good.
We're joined now by Mark Lenhart. He is the new Executive Vice President of the National Fastener Distributors Association. Mark, welcome to Fully Threaded.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate the time to come on and introduce myself.
Well, it's great to have you. We met you in person last week in Chicago at the fall meeting, and it seemed like it was a pretty big success.
It sure was, and it was a chance really for our members to see the new NFDA. It was a chance to meet me and to obviously hear the exciting things that we're doing. And some of the initiatives that you obviously heard at the meeting and our members heard were some of the things we're doing along the lines of member retention and member growth. And we're really doing a great job of retaining our members, really listening to our members, and spending time really reaching out to them to make sure that we're really meeting their needs and connecting with them at all levels. Some of the other things that we're doing that really kind of resonated through the fall meeting was our growth and our expansion into the globalization. We obviously, like everyone else in this industry, sees the importance of the global marketplace, and our members obviously see that as well. So we're taking the approach of helping our members look forward and help them do their best in terms of reaching out to customers around the world, suppliers around the world, and trying to put information and resources available that can help them do that. We've got some of our board members have taken a real initiative and really have been to overseas and have used this as an opportunity to come back and are now wanting to help other members become successful in trade overseas. So we're excited that that's a possibility of growing the association and growing our membership base. So that was a big focus of the meeting. We also had a panel on technology, social networking. We kind of talked about the use of the LinkedIn, the Facebook, and all those sorts of things that that my generation don't really understand. But I think we have to, as effective business owners and managers, have to use this type of technology to drive our business and keep keep topical and keep the conversation going about our products and services. So that was great to have a panel there to discuss the kind of the latest and greatest information on social networking and to make sure that's something that our members are thinking about and hopefully integrating into their businesses. And then we had a motivational speaker. Sam Geist was someone who is respected in the industry. He comes from a very successful professional career. And he was a speaker who really resonated with our members, and
he was great.
Yeah, he was really fantastic and got everybody up and going and really focusing on the business. It was, his message is execution, and so our members, like anyone else, needs to execute on their strategy and execute on their customer satisfaction and their customer connection. So he really allowed us to really get involved with this presentation and really, I think, began to see the simple things we have to change in our businesses to really deliver that customer-centric focused and deliver that execution that our customers need and want. So overall it was a fantastic meeting. Our members felt excited and motivated, and I think they really feel that the NFDA is now going to take a leadership position in driving the industry forward, and that through the leadership of Jim Deary and the board of directors, we have really began to get the momentum. As Jim said, we're starting to snowball down the hill. The momentum of the NFDA is growing, and we're trying to change the dialogue and change the conversation in the industry that the NFDA is a leader, and we're listening to our members, and we're really driving things forward.
Actually, one of the things that was fascinating in the discussion, the panel discussion about the social networking, which I thought that was a great, the speaker was a great guy. And one of the people started questioning him about LinkedIn, leading to the view that maybe it wasn't really worthwhile. And then he asked around, he said, just who here has actually joined up or set themselves up with LinkedIn expecting to find no one in the room? And he looked around and realized there's like at least 3/4 of the people were all set up on LinkedIn.
Yeah. That was great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk with him later, and he's like, well, guess what I did when I got back to my room. I joined and I accepted all these invitations, and he is drinking the Kool-Aid. He's embracing the technology, and I think that it's something that our members are seeing and see the benefit to their members and to their customers, and it's nice that all generations are seeing the importance of social networking.
Hey, Mark, now is there a LinkedIn group that's been created just for the NFDA? I know we've talked a lot on this show about the Fastener Distributors Group. Is there a new one now we have to keep aware of?
I am very happy to announce that we have just launched our first LinkedIn group. So you can go on, and it's very easy for members and non-members to go to the LinkedIn. You select the groups. You select the NFDA link that's there. You click it. We'll accept you as a member. That gets you into the dialogue, into the conversation. You can post. You can read. You can do all kinds of different things. So that's very exciting. We're also excited that we've also launched a Twitter account. So we've got a Twitter thread going. So we are monitoring that, and we'll be posting things. I'll be posting things, and staff will as well. As we've also got Facebook. So we're really kind of embracing what our speakers and our panels talked about at our event, and are using this technology to reach our members, to reach non-members, to begin to change the dialogue, change the conversation around fasteners and the importance that the NFDA can play in the marketplace. So we're very excited about that, Eric, and we're glad that that it's moving forward so quickly.
Yeah, that's all good to hear. And one other thing, just quickly on the fall meeting that was nice to see was some representation from the Midwest Fastener Association. I saw Nancy Rich out there, of course, the director, and Matt DeLauder and several others.
Yes, it was nice that Nancy and some of the other members could attend. I know that there was some of the scheduling would have been better. I think we would have had a larger attendance, but it was so nice that they were able to attend the show in Chicago. They're local regional association, and it's so nice when they're here and they can participate. And that really is kind of, I think, moving forward. I want to make sure that the message is clear that moving forward, the NFDA wants to embrace the regional associations, begin to work with them to find areas where we can work together on programming, on events, and really have our members really benefit from being participations of both organizations, and really seeing how we can really look for areas to grow our relationships and grow business, because that's really the bottom line is we're all going toward the same goal. We're all trying to do the same thing. So we might as well begin to work together, begin to build the relationships that really end to a very common goal and a very successful goal for both of our organizations.
So I know that you're going to be putting on something in Las Vegas. Tell us something about that.
Yeah, we're very excited as we should be. We've got, NFS West is something that we participated in the past. We're very active supporters of the organization and the great things that they're doing. But for the first time, we're going to be holding a panel discussion where it's the trends and directions and the status of the fastener industry. We're assembling a panel of industry experts, from people in terms of import-export, people that are on the OEM side, people that are in terms of master distributors, and people in terms of logistics and moving products around. So we're really trying to capture the entire gambit of the important discussion points that our members and non-members really should hear about and learn about the trends that are happening out there, and really hear from the experts themselves saying, this is what is going on and this is what you have to be doing to effectively compete, not only in the United States but also globally. And some of the things that these members and users are telling us. And so I'm very excited about it. I'm going to be hosting the panel and leading the discussion, and I encourage everyone who is going to be at NFS West to please come by. It is on Monday between 3 and 5, and we are going to be having that discussion, and we welcome the participation from the audience, and are really excited to take a more active role in NFS West, and again, to begin to become that discussion point or that thought leader within the industry.
And will you be in a position to announce some of the speakers in your panel?
Well, we're very hopeful that in the next few weeks we can begin to send some information out to the media through our social network, through our sites that are out there. We're gonna use that as well. So we're kind of tying it all together. We're finalizing a couple. We've got a couple more people that we're trying to get, and I think that everyone is going to be very excited to hear who they are, because these are the industry thought leaders. These are the real people who are passionate about this industry and can really, our members and non-members can really begin to learn from and benefit from their discussion. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks that we can have something out there.
Okay, cool.
And just to confirm, Mark, that will take place on Monday, November 8th at 3 p.m. in Las Vegas. And are there any reservations or tickets required, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question, Eric. People who are interested in attending, if they're a member, it is free to members. All they have to do is contact the staff headquarters here. They'll be given a code. They can then enter the code onto the NFS West website. We'll give them a free ticket. If you are not a member, it's $25, and you'll need to go through the NFS West website. There's an area where they can find the panel and the discussion, and they can register online doing it through the website.
That's good information to know. And we should probably point out that the NFDA website can be accessed at www.nfda-fastener.org. And a lot of the supporting information for this conversation can be found there. And I guess we can also expect on a more and more frequent basis updates on the social networks that you referenced earlier.
Absolutely, that's going to be a new platform that we're going to begin to use and to maximize that presence in the marketplace. So it's another way to kind of push information out to reach our members and non-members where they're at on their mobile devices, at their computers, and to really begin to expand the presence and dominance of the NFDA.
We wish you well. We welcome you to the Fastener world, and we look forward to seeing you out in Vegas at NIFS West.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate the opportunity to be on with you and Brian, and look forward to meeting as many new members as we can and continuing the conversation about fasteners and the industry in general. So thank you again.
It's our pleasure, and anything you can do to improve the technological awareness of the people in the fastener industry will only be a great benefit.
We think so too.
There's no escaping it, folks. It's here to stay. Fully Threaded Radio. We'll be back in a minute.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, or just a mouse click away, and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be. You know your screws and your brews. That's why now there's a beer brew just for the fastener industry. That's right. You drove all day to make that call. The beer you'll pour, it must be tall. Yeah. Old rusty bowl. Yeah. You sold those screws and bolts and nuts, and now it's time to fill your guts, that's clear. Old rusty boat, yeah. Forget about cold filtered, old rusty's cold-headed, for fastener people just like you. It's the beer that could have made Rockford, Illinois famous, until we had to start importing some of the pure 100% natural ingredients that go into every batch. It's got that full-threaded flavor, but with a third less oxides, so you can keep enjoying Old Rusty long after the warehouse or show floors close down for the day. That's also why Old Rusty's available in quarter kegs and now in convenient pallets too. Keep it flowing, house. Old Rusty Boat.
Hi, this is Rich Cavota with Metric and Multi-Standard, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
We're joined now by Gary Polipnick. He's the regional manager for Fastenal of the North Central region. Gary, welcome to Fully Threaded.
Good afternoon. How are things going there in Chicago?
Hey, no worries on this side of the border.
We got a big game coming up. You know, we got the Packers and the Bears on Monday night.
That's right.
You're not meant to remind us of that, okay?
Yeah.
Right.
There'll be plenty of people watching, I'm sure.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
Every time I hear that accent, I want to go grab myself a beer.
You need to stop listening then. You can't be drinking all that often.
No, not during work. I listen off hours for sure.
Okay. Now, why does Australian accent make you want to drink beer all the time?
I don't know. It must be because I go to Outback too much.
It's the Foster's commercials.
Yeah. Isn't that really put on Australian accent?
Mm-hmm.
You have to say,
you and Greg Norman.
Make a Barbie for you.
Yeah.
That isn't my accent, okay? It's Texan, remember?
Well, we've been having a lot of conversations about beer and golf and all things related to subjects non-fastener these days, but you're in an interesting position in the industry, and you see things from a unique perspective being a regional manager for Fastenal. What's your take on the industry these days, Gary?
Well, we're plugging along pretty good right now, I'm sure, like a lot of our competitors are. And we're just hoping we can keep this run going here through the rest of this year and well into next year.
Are you seeing things kind of on a steady basis, or is it kind of a up and down rocky road, which is what we're hearing from lots of distributors?
Well, it seems as though there are certain markets, certain manufacturers that tend to be a lot busier, and like a lot of us, we've seen many of our customers work their inventories down to next to nothing. And so part of this buildup, I'm sure, is due to the fact that, you know, supplies at the plants have been lower. Therefore, we're seeing some opportunities to try and increase business that way when people are increasing and building inventories.
Yeah, I'm sure you saw recently in the news, and we discussed this on the last episode of Fully Threaded, there was a release that came out, and Will Overton was commenting that he believed that we were entering a period where industrial supply companies, various OEMs, are going to be running on reduced inventories, and there was some commentary from some observers that that may be the case, at least for the next couple of years to come. So you're seeing a lot of evidence of that, apparently.
Well, I think like all of us, we're trying to be very careful on what we're doing with our inventory, which is really why you guys exist out there in assisting companies like Fastenal and others in trying to find a match for inventory that we don't currently have a need for. So, yeah, we're seeing that on our end as well.
Which part of industry do you see picking up?
A lot of our core business is the small to mid-size manufacturers, people that might be making lawnmowers or carts or tables, things of that nature. So as far as any one industry, how automotive, for example, can really wipe a lot of people out, that really didn't affect us as much because we're not selling OEM parts to the big three. But we do get affected, with all of the subcontractors, the people making the seats and putting in the windshields and things like that, plants that deliver parts just in time.
Okay.
The other part of our business, since we do have so many different customers, the OEM side is part of our business, but the MRO side is also part of our business, and we're really trying to focus more on picking up some government business as well. So we've got a good game plan to go ahead and try and continue to grow throughout whatever the economy throws at us.
How long has MRO been really a focus of Fastenal's?
Well, MRO is probably what got us going back in the 60s when the gentleman that started the company started it. We didn't have a whole lot of credibility back in the the late 60s, early 70s as far as being an OEM type distributor, but a lot of people just didn't know where to buy parts. And I met with some people earlier this week, and we were talking about how things have changed even since in the last 20 years. When companies used to place a purchase order for a part and they'd just buy a year's worth because they didn't want to have to mess with it anymore.
Right.
And that part would come around then, almost like clockwork in January the following year. Well, things have changed dramatically, and we're trying to spoon feed people a day's or 2 days worth of inventory now, so they can free up space in their plants and free up inventory dollars as well. So it's a burden for the distributor, definitely.
Are all of your stores involved in that VMI kind of activity, or do you have some of the stores they're operating on that basis, and others more as kind of a traditional industrial supply operation?
We go to the street really trying to provide excellent customer service, and a way of doing that is to build relationships with your customers. And the fact that we're located in many of these smaller communities like Baraboo, Wisconsin, and Spooner, Wisconsin, and Creston, Iowa, some of these smaller towns that are not used to getting as good a service than they would if they were located in Des Moines or Minneapolis or Milwaukee, that gives us a bit of an advantage in being able to provide better customer service. So we work with our stores and our customers to try and give them the level of service that works just best for them. And for some people, it's the VMI program, and that was such a buzzword years ago, but it's almost what's expected nowadays for anyone that uses any type of quantity of parts.
Right.
Yep.
Speaking of those small towns, it makes me wonder, and I'll ask this question even though I don't know if you'll be able to answer me, but do you see a saturation point for Fastenal stores? I mean, you guys are everywhere, and I know more stores are in the plans. Is there a point where you've built enough stores?
Yeah, eventually I'm sure we'll get to that point. We're not there yet. I think the industrial market is so big, and all of us have such a small share of it. Even when you look at the largest, distributors that are out there, there's still a ton of opportunity for all of us to grow our business. And, while I can't get specific with the number of stores that will open, every quarter, every year, there's still a ton of opportunity for us to continue to open locations, and so I'll just kind of leave it at that. But you'll see Fastenal Stores popping open next year, that's for sure.
What's your training program? I mean, presumably it's sort of a specialized area. I mean, you must have some sort of pretty good in-house training program that allows you to take someone so that they suddenly know a lot about fasteners, because people going in to buy something are expecting the Fastenal store manager or the people there to be able to tell them all about the things they're buying.
Sure. We actually have a Fastenal School of Business campus that's located in Winona at our home office. Oh. And with every full-time hire we have, regardless of where they're located in the country, we try and get them to Winona within the first 6 months of their full-time employment, so we can get them to understand the big picture of Fastenal and not maybe just the store in which they work. And along with that, we've really used technology to enhance the ability to reach more people. At the store level, we can go, the guys and gals can go through product modules on their screen and learn, from basics how to measure a carriage bolt, how to measure a flathead socket cap screw, a shoulder bolt, identifying parts and real basic things, and then getting right up into critical applications and what specific parts would work in the best applications. So there's a big variety of modules and online courses that our people can take right at their store, regardless of where they're at. When they do go to the main campus in Winona, we have a variety of other classes that require more hands-on, more technical training. And I'm not sure of the number, but there's upwards of 20 full-time instructors at the Fastenal School of Business, and wow. Classes are running, weekly. I think a lot of my guys just got back we did a lean training, and they're real live teachers, not just fastener people teaching things. So there's a curriculum, there's testing, there's grading. It's serious business for us.
Okay. Yeah, my impression is that usually a lot of the people who are searching our site, they vary between distributors and manufacturers and all sorts of things. But quite often I talk to people who really have no idea of the fastener industry, and yet they have been put in a position where they have to start buying some fasteners. And from when I talk to them, they have very little idea of the industry, and I said, you have got to find a distributor, and you've got to talk to them, because they're the people who are going to help you through sourcing the things you need, okay?
Sure.
And so that these people, they're the sort of person who wander into a Fastenal store and don't really know what a socket head cap screw is. It's just that they have to have them for a machine or lawnmower they're making.
Sure. We have, like anyone, we have various levels of expertise, working at Fastenal. But all of our stores have, a store manager, outside salespeople, account managers, part-time support. So there's a variety of different people at every store. And like you'd mentioned, you're not going to be an expert in one day working, regardless of where it is that you work. But the experience that all of our people have, typically starting part-time, getting to understand how we operate from an operations standpoint, and then we work people into, answering the telephone, working the sales counter. A lot of our customers teach us a lot, and people get off on teaching the guy at the store something about, something where they may know more about it than our people. And if you approach that, in the right way with your customer, I think you'll gain some credibility that way as well, just by not pretending like you know everything. And if you're open to listen to what people have to say, you're probably going to be a lot better off in the long run.
Oh, I think you're right.
But we'll have people throw in a Folgers can full of bolts if they're repairing something, and that'll require a little bit of work for some of our people, but we've got very good technical guides and resources available. If you don't know the answer, you can grab the phone and call your colleague down the street. Go on our Fastnet, our internal internal web page and ask something what something is. And nowadays, with everyone having camera phones and things of that nature, it's pretty easy to get an answer back real fast.
Yeah. So one of the things that seems to me is that in an industry that is acknowledged to be fairly conservative, Fastenal actually is fairly switched on technically. Do you want to comment on that? I mean, that's my impression of just my dealings.
Well, it's one of those deals, and you guys both remember when the fax machines came out, and what a big deal that was, 20 some years ago, and how far we've come. And many of the people that come to work for us now do not know life without a cell phone. I mean, remember those big honking bag phones we carried around in the beginning, and now you've got little handheld computers that fit in the palm of your hand. But our salespeople are armed with some technology similar to what you see the bread man in the grocery store with, scanning the aisles at the grocery store.
Yeah.
We've got our guys have little handheld computers where they can do stock checks, they can check pricing, they can do inventory transactions, they can create invoices. They can show videos of products that we got downloaded for them. If someone needs to see, a new concrete anchor or a new, lifting device or something, we can show a video right to our customer on this handheld unit. And then we've got Fastenal.com. Many of us have websites, and we've got a whole lot of technical information on our website as well, plus the ability to buy. So.
Actually, your website has undergone a fair amount of work in the last few months, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I see that now, when we started off this business, you never ever found a reference to Fastenal on the web, except perhaps on the stock exchange. Now you put a search in for fasteners. Fastenal actually comes up in a lot of searches now.
Well, it's certainly something that we're trying to improve, and we're putting a lot of effort towards. And as you guys know, people are always looking for the easiest way to purchase, and if we can offer options where we have a store, if you want to buy from a store, we've got a vending machine if you want vended, we've got vendor managed inventory if you want to do it that way, we've got Fastenal.com, so we're trying to come at you from all angles for whatever type of service works best for your company.
And I guess I can't resist asking right now something about a press release I saw earlier this summer about you had a tent that had all kinds of surplus product in it, and I guess that was some type of a prototype store. How did that work out?
Well, that worked out really well. It's not quite as much for the fastener side of things. We've got, within my region, 240 stores, and we enable our people to do whatever they need to do to get business and help their customers out. And in some cases, we don't always make the best decisions, and therefore we're left with product. We needed somebody ordered a dozen hard hats, and we had to order 15. So we've got a lot of odds and ends, from safety glasses to hard hats to one of our power tool vendors comes out with a new model and no one wants the old one anymore, so we're just trying to blow that stuff out and turn it into cash. It's actually been very successful, so we're going to be opening our second store, our second surplus store in Appleton, Wisconsin, where there's a good industrial market for us.
Okay. So, Gary, the comment about tools, and my question is, relative to Fastenal's business, is tools like a significant part of your business, or is it something you simply carry because the people who buy fasteners need a tool?
Well, we're trying to, offer a full line of industrial supplies. As anyone, that researches Fastenal would know, about half of our sales are fasteners, and the other half come from, a variety of other products, from hand tools, power tools, cutting tools, janitorial supplies, the list goes on and on. So we do have we've got a fair amount. If you were to walk into any of our stores, you'll see, a couple of sections of hand and power tools for sure, and accessories. If you're if you're selling things for people to put in holes, you got to offer something to drill the hole and something that'll cut the hole. And
no, you're right. You're right. That's true. So then, what we should be providing a little more of a targeted facility for Fastenal Stores to load up their tools as well, because you probably have those.
There'll be some of that.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, that's been an ongoing subject with Fasteners Clearinghouse for a long time, and actually we've made some decisions on that recently. I don't know that we're necessarily ready to unveil anything, but it's probably a good point to segue into what we're doing together with between Fastenal and Fasteners Clearinghouse lately. And what we did was something that we announced on a previous episode of Fully Threaded, and we created kind of a hybrid membership for Fastenal Stores, and we're prototyping it currently with the North Central region. Brian, you're doing some webinars with the district managers, or you have been, and I guess you just finished that up and getting everybody on board with that.
Yeah, I had my last one today. I've been telling everyone about how to go and look up these ASME numbers to try and increase exposure.
Sure. And we really see this as an avenue to move some inventory that we either have that's surplus, or a customer that may have gone out of business, or business that, God forbid, we may have lost to a competitor. But we all still have some parts in our stores, and the fact that we allow or encourage our people as independent businessmen to make decisions to try things to enhance their business, inevitably you're going to have a few mistakes being made, and while none of them are drastic, we're just trying to list parts that we have little or no activity in the last several months, and see if there's a need out there in the market for them. So we see this as a good thing for everyone, as well as our stores to be able to jump on and see if there's a hard-to-find product out there that one of our suppliers or someone else might be listing.
Well, yeah, because we've actually created a specific update to the search so that the Fastenal Stores can, first of all, search within the region. So that maybe I know that there are other ways that within your own network you can find that stuff, but it's got to be listed on our site. It's probably a little more specifically defined, actually.
Well, it's just another tool, and as we all know, it's good to have an array of tools when you've got a job to do.
Right on.
Yeah, some of those for sale at Fastenal Stores.
Gary, you mentioned something that probably ties back to some of the success that Fastenal has had over the years, and that's sort of the independent nature of the stores operating, as you just termed it, as independent businessmen. I mean, could you speak on that a little bit? Is that sort of an explicit mission or an explicit operating procedure within the organization?
Well, sure, it is. And what we're trying to do, Eric, is we're trying to not tie the hands of the people that are on the front line to where they have to, go through approvals and do all these things to try and take care of their customer. Now, granted, we do have some stop checks, put in place to where, so we don't get all crazy and people do crazy things. But if a customer hands one of our salespeople some type of widget, and if our people, and it's not in our catalog, if our people, source it, find it, mark it up, they have the ability to cut a purchase order and buy it. And that's kind of, what makes us a little bit unique from some of our competitors is our ability to react fast to specials.
Right.
And we've been very successful with it. And Bob Curlin, the founder of Fastenal, the model has been, if people are part of the idea or have a way to solve the problem, they'll work harder to make sure that it happens. And that certainly has been the case with most of our employees, that's for sure.
Well, Brian and I have actually commented on several occasions after working with your district managers that these guys are incentivized. They're really they're eager to do business.
Yeah, well, I hope so. That means we're doing something right.
Well, I'm just saying it's what we've encountered.
Yeah, I mean, I usually start my little webinars off by giving the district manager a chance to present to his own people, and I've been very impressed with really the way they run things, actually.
Well, and our district managers have close relationships with their stores. It's not like, you might see your district manager every month. These guys are probably hitting their stores every week or maybe every 2 weeks. So there's a good rapport, and we're not big on hierarchy at Fastenal. If someone needs to call me, they can call me. If they need to call the district manager, if I need to call the president of the company to solve a problem, it doesn't matter. You can do it. Anyone can pick up the phone and call Will Overton at any time. And he'll maybe run some parts to you if he needs to.
Wow. Well, whatever you're doing, it's working. We were talking earlier about how far can Fastenal expand, and I guess we're going to see. But one thing's for sure, it's going to continue for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Or even a long while.
Well, let's hope so, right?
Right.
And we're just thrilled that we're working with you with Fasteners Clearinghouse, and we're so glad that you could join us, Gary Polipnick. You're the regional manager for the North Central region of Fastenal, as we said, and it's just been great speaking with you. We hope we can talk with you again.
Well, thanks, guys, and I guess I can just end it with Go Packers.
I can't. Sorry, there's a degree of editing we do, okay?
All right. Have a great weekend, guys.
Hey, mate, same to you.
Bye.
We'll be right back with Rob Lucas of Fidelis Fasteners.
This is Sue Rice with the FCH team. It's my job to make sure that as an FCH member, you receive the highest possible benefit from your participation in the network. Did you know that once you're logged into FCH, you have access to exclusive search tools, site statistics, and tracking information about your inventory and source finder inquiries? It's all just a click away, and I'm happy to walk you through it. If it's time to refresh your inventory, don't worry. We'll run your listings through our scrubber software and get you up and running in a very short time. If you can attach a spreadsheet to an email, you can list inventory on FCH. We can also show you how to optimize your listings to attract the most hits for your type of fastener. Send email to Sue at fastenersclearinghouse.com and let me help you get the most from the FCH sourcing network. I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Hey everybody, this is Vicki Lester with the Pacific West Fastener Association, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Rob Lucas, you're the managing partner of Fidelis Fasteners, and you're joining us again. Where are you in the world today?
Hey Eric, I am fortunately in the fun city of Chicago, my hometown, so I'm blessed to not be traveling right now. However, I leave tomorrow morning for overseas, so I don't know if that's really a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm out again.
I guess we could have guessed that. So it's a rare hometown call, and how you been? It's been a while.
Good. Things are, the world is certainly changing. You guys are doing a lot of good stuff, I hear, and you got Fastenal on board doing some things for you. That's a damn good, I think, setup for you, and I think it's going to show the power of what Fasteners Clearinghouse does. So that's an indicative thing of how the market's going. I think people are looking for change. I certainly think that the market's picked up. It's by no means busy as everybody would like it to be, and there are certainly pockets of dead space. But overall, I think it's okay. It's better than it ever has been. It's not fantastic.
Right. Well, we certainly have heard a lot of things rumbling from your side of the world, but I wonder, last time you were on, you were indicating that there were some market conditions that were worthy of reportage, and I wonder if we could kick things off that way from your last travels over to Asia.
Sure. I think everybody knows now that there's been some steel increases. There's, obviously some concern about power shortages in China, which are pretty consistent. This is not the first summer that this has happened. This, as far back as I can remember, there's always been some type of a rolling blackout throughout China. I just think it's more aggressive this year. There's a couple of other reasons behind that. The World Expo is there. There's a whole lot of focus on Shanghai. And I think that they're trying to continue that same path they did with the Olympics, so keeping things clean, keeping the dirty businesses or pollutant businesses kind of low profile. And of course, they've got their infrastructure issues. There's pressure from the states for the appreciation or depreciation of the yuan. So there's a lot of factors that have impacted this. And what we see out of it in our industry is cost increases. What I've been hearing and what I've been hearing from most of the vendors in China is that that's going to be probably a consistent message throughout this year. My gut would be it probably softens itself back down end of fall, middle of winter. That's probably an accurate depiction of it. I don't think they can pass through yet another pretty substantial hike. And a lot of these raw material mills have closed down some wire rod lines, and that's it's not so much capacity, but it's kind of taken in context. Last year there was zero demand, and they had these lines open, and there wasn't demand for this wire, so they shut them down. Now the demand has picked back up, and everybody didn't buy for such a long time that there was just zero demand. Now people are buying. And what I'm hearing from Asia is people aren't buying forecasting, they're buying what they need. So in other words, if the traditional buyer was going to look for 1 million pieces for his EAU, but he only needs 800,000, he's only buying 800,000. So they're buying based off of their specific demands, and that's obviously caused some capacity deals for raw material, and this caused it to go up.
You mentioned the rolling blackouts. I think another guest in a previous episode had referred to a situation throughout the summer where the government was actually forcing certain industries to really lay off for a day or two per week. Is that the same thing, or are we just hearing two different versions of that?
No, that's the same thing. In the past years, it's been they'd give some type of a notification that, hey, over the summer you're going to be powerless in heavy industry, or your manufacturing facility will be powerless for X days, maybe Monday and Tuesday, maybe Saturday. So they just had a schedule. And that was pretty consistent and has been for the past several years. This year, the only real change to it is the same principle. It's just they gave them less of a notification. And I heard from some vendors who said, hey, we were just told yesterday that our power is going to be off for 5 days. That's what's really...
Right, but was this done really by the government to cool the economy down, or was it done for other reasons in your understanding?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think it's to cool it down a little bit because they're trying to offset some of the pressure from other governments, and there's just anti-dumping. There's a lot of things that weigh into this, and not just in our industry of steel, but in all the other commodities that China produces. They are a monster when it comes to production. They're also becoming an extremely hungry country. And, the thing that a lot of people don't talk about is China, although their yuan is devalued, I guess, some people would put it at, they still have to take that money and buy raw materials from other countries. And when they bring it into their country and they go out and sell it again, there's some type of a loss of income for them. There's a loss of funds. Now, they have a whole lot of liquid cash, and they're, awfully wealthy right now. So I think there's a part of it that's cool it down. There's a part of it that deals with capacity. There's a whole bunch of different segments here that are playing factor into what China is doing. And I think that's, I'm not a politician or know many of them over there, but it's certainly the message that I hear from most of the vendors. Now, I've heard recently that the investment in foreign investment into China is up again for, I think, 13 or 14 months straight in China. And that's a sign that their economy is still growing. If foreign investors are still throwing cash into China, there's a reason for that, and I think that's because there's some power and there's some cost advantage there, quite frankly. And I know that Wen Jiabao, the minister of China, has set out some new policies to level the playing field for these foreign companies to step up and get rid of some of this regulatory stuff that's causing them duress. So they are still looking at ways to grow their economy. How that all plays out in the days ahead is I'm not sure, but I certainly think that people are attracted to that 6.7 or 8.7 yuan, whatever the current number is for it.
You're dealing with the market in China. Now, when China increases the price of steel or decides that it's going to increase the price of its fasteners, does that not create a benefit for, say, countries like Taiwan or Vietnam, who are also getting into the production business of fasteners too?
It has, as a matter of fact. This last cost increase has kind of put the playing field of Taiwan in a better advantage in some products as opposed to China, which it's typically hasn't always been like that. It's always been typically Taiwan's a little bit pricier than China. Now it's kind of reversed. It's not across the board, but there are a handful of parts where you can now go to Taiwan and get a better cost. CSE, China Steel Corporation, supplies Taiwan wire rod. They'd rather make sheet steel all day long. It's easier and it makes more money. Mm-hmm. Wire rod is kind of the ugly stepchild we don't want to deal with. But I think in the past it's been kind of CSC that's dictated the cost of material, and now it's shifted over to China, and China's kind of dictating on their own terms what we want to do. And you talk about places like Vietnam and Thailand, which are much, much smaller enterprising countries, but they have lower labor rates than China.
Correct.
So I think that plays into a factor. And it's funny you say that because I'm about to head over that way. Vietnam has a labor rate that I think is about 7.5% lower than China's. My last numbers that may be outdated, but it's pretty close. And that affects, obviously, cost of goods.
All right.
They're landlocked, and they pay an export duty from raw material they buy into China. And China's done that in the past where they put a 15 or 20% export duty on products to these countries to kind of offset that, to slow them down. But I think as they continue to raise their pricing and they continue to build their infrastructure in China, it does open up pockets for other countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, even India. And there's a whole lot of rumbling again about India. And I'm still not certain that India can be a player right now because of their infrastructure, but it's giving people the opportunity to be more competitive.
What's the longest traffic jam you've heard of coming out of India, Rob?
Nothing like the one in China where they were selling rice, for 6 days. But it's pretty rough over there. I've been in India. The amusing thing about it is they've got such a poor infrastructure, but they have decided to put in tollways on their highway highway. And that tollway has got an elephant in a car and a motorcycle. So, you've got an elephant going through a toll booth. It just doesn't make any sense. And that's part of the problem they have with infrastructure when I talk about delivery. You can make parts in 8 weeks. You just can't get them out for 12 months. And I think that's going to be a setback for them.
You mentioned export duties as well, and I know that the Nucor refiling has been sort of percolating quietly on the back burner, and there's a refiling coming up. Have you seen any evidence that that's being telegraphed, any particular feelings one way or the other from the Chinese?
No, it's been really, really suspiciously quiet. I did read, and heard some stuff. There's potential for some news to come out this week, and then mid-October there'll be some more information about it. I don't think that a lot of people have much input on it right now, and I think maybe that's because it was just that unanimous ruling that has given people the mindset of it's not going to pass through. I'm not 100% certain myself that it's going to just go cleanly and they're going to get thrown out again on their appeal. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I'm not sure. You look at the U.S., the economy, the way things are. You got Nucor saying, "Hey, we're losing jobs, we're losing money." Whether they are or aren't is not the point. I think it's, the U.S. is going to look at ways to try to help their economy. And I certainly don't think, from my opinion, that they're going to allow Nucor to have these type of penalties. But I certainly think that it's possible for some penalty to come through. And that could be just as simple as just an increase in some duty rates. But, that's just a speculation on my part. And I'm kind of 50-50. Half of me thinks it'll just get thrown out, and the other half thinks there'll be just some small, addition to the duty that's out there. I don't think it'll be awarded largely.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people.
But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like you, and that's why I was kind of wondering if you saw any positioning where maybe there was some advanced knowledge that somebody had out there on the Chinese side. But here's a question, and you might not know the answer to it. Does the ITC panel kind of reshuffle after the election like the rest of the political world does? I know that it's supposedly very evenly politically balanced, and I really don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, neither do I, to be honest with you. I do know that there's another judge or a new judge that's reviewing this. Now, what factor that plays into it, I'm not certain. I really don't know much about how this is all going to roll out. That's something maybe for you guys to hear something from Matt McGrath, or we could look up on the ITC website and see if there's any information about it. I try to check that thing about once a week. I used to check it almost daily to see if there's news. Now I'm down to about once a week, and there just hasn't been much out.
Right.
So it's kind of a waiting game. I think we're all going to hear something quickly about this. I think it's going to have some movement forward, and I think it's staying alive. It's not dead.
Let's talk a little bit about shipping. I don't know if you heard episode 11, the last episode, but we had one of your mates over from Scanwell Logistics on.
Yeah.
And you have anything to add to that conversation?
No, Chris is a pretty informative, knowledgeable guy on that. I talk to Chris quite a bit. I actually am an SPM for Scanwell as well, so I have a pretty good relationship with him. What he said is kind of what I'm seeing and what everybody's seeing. There are some issues where, in China, it's you pay and you can get it on board, but that's few and far between. It's right now, it's changing and it's getting a little bit better. I don't think there's as many bookings as people expect it to be, but we're getting past that point too, where the holiday season's here. You know, there's that premium ship date time where everybody's trying to get their containers loaded and over to the States before the holidays to stock their shelves. That's almost behind us. And I think at that point you'll have a lull again. Chris Donnell is the guy to ask about that, and he did, and he gave you, I think, a great presentation about what he knows and what's going on. And I use that same message. Whatever he says is what I use because he's the expert.
Got it. Well, that's why we tried to have him on. You haven't heard anything about some of the return vessels going back loaded down with Asian carp, have you?
No, I have not. I have not heard that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's Illinois' export drive, okay?
Yeah, there's a big baseball bat sales going on now.
Right, yeah. That comes way down the list after trying to get re-elected for governor or something, I think.
So you told us you're heading off to South Africa coming up here at the end of the week, and is that the final destination of this leg of your journey, or will you be heading on? What's up in the world of Fidelis for the near-term future?
You know, I can't sit home too long or I'll go stir crazy, so I've decided to take another round-the-world trip. Doing South Africa, it's part pleasure, by the way. I'm going to take a couple of days of my own personal time and have a little bit of fun. But I'm also going to see some manufacturers there in Johannesburg and see if I can't audit these guys, see if it makes sense to get some products from them. I've talked to them a few times over the years. I was there a few years back, so I'm kind of making a revisit to these guys to see if there's now some new synergies that make sense. So, that's part of that. And then, of course, there's all kinds of travel coming up in the future. There's Vietnam and Thailand with this. And then in October, I'll be headed back over to Taiwan for the Taiwan Fastener Show. And while I'm there, I'll jump back over to China. And then December, I'm headed over to Malaysia. So I'll be traveling a little bit.
Right, and NIFS West in Vegas sandwiched in there.
That's right. I forgot all about that. I've got to do that as well. And I've got a presentation out there on the show floor as well as you guys do. So I'll have to prepare for that during one of my many airline flights. So I'm going to look pretty hard now at Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. Again, Vietnam's got some opportunities with T-Rod that I think is potential. Again, these are all relatively small countries that have some startup issues, and they're either probably going to be Chinese manufacturers or Taiwanese manufacturing management. So I'm going to go on kind of a fact-finding mission, do a little bit of audit, see who makes sense, what doesn't, and turn this spigot on slowly. And if I can make something happen, that'll be great. But I try to stay on top of it. I try to look at all the countries other than China and Taiwan to help my client base, as this paradigm shifts.
Right. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about that? Because as most people have heard by now, there have been some changes. And I also know that for various reasons, there have been a few misunderstandings put out there. Why don't you set the record straight and unveil what you have going on these days, Rob? Okay.
Well, firstly, I became sole proprietor of Fidelis Fasteners as of August 1st, or late July 31st. We'll call it August 1st. And that was really an amicable thing that I did. I wanted to take the company on board and just keep pushing it the way I have been. I think it's got some solid foundation to it. It's growing weekly. It's growing monthly. It's doing its job. I've been servicing my clients now for quite a while. They're pretty happy with what's going on. I share a lot of information. Some of the information I give to you guys, I give to clients in a much broader spectrum. I try to give them updates on everything that I talk to you guys about, but in much more detail, so that they're aware of how they should produce stuff or purchase stuff. Excuse me. So I decided to do that, and I was thinking over the last year about what demands customers have kind of asked me. And one of the misconceptions out there is, there's an article that was published that was, I guess, semi-true, but it was misleading, and it was a little bit, I would say more than a little bit, it was clearly not giving the entire details of it. So, part of that is there's a warehouse. Well, that warehouse is for Fidelis Fasteners, and it is really only for existing clients of mine. And what I'm going to do with this warehouse is hold inventory for pre-bought purchases from my clients. So for a distributor who can't afford to take on 12 months worth of supply of parts in his warehouse, I will manage that out of somewhere else for him and release it as he needs it. I don't have any interest in doing any type of sell to the public or sell to distribution type of inventory house. I'm not going to be a distributor. My warehouse, in lack of a better term, I guess it's a 3PL. I'm just managing some inventory for people. They pay for that service, and it's pre-sold, not owned by me. I'm just going to be holding it and managing it.
Well, that makes sense, and I guess that's a pretty important detail to have out there.
Yeah, so, it was really just something that I thought made a lot of sense for a lot of the clients I have. I deal with distributor bases from the smallest to some of the biggest, and in between there are the guys who really are looking for some support as how to manage some inventory so they can effectively buy better, get a better cost, and manage it. And this came up. I talked to a few of my customers and painted some things out that it made sense. So now I'm actively looking for a location. I think I have one picked out. And we're going to start to kick this thing off relatively soon, where I'll hold inventory for people and move it to them on a monthly basis. But it's a scheduled basis. It's basically stock for release, but it's a little more secure. And again, to reiterate, this is not a warehouse that I'm going to utilize to buy product myself and sell to the market. I don't have any interest in that today. I'm not saying I would never do it, but I don't see that in my future for quite some time.
Got it. Now, you have an article coming out in the upcoming American Fastener Journal detailing some of this, don't you?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's out now. I again purchased an advertisement for the back of the cover for all of 2011 as well, and it's done well for me. It paints out what Fidelis is about. The article talks about Fidelis Fasteners. It also talks about a new announcement which I've done, which is a sister company that's called Global Fastener Network, or GFN. And I think that a lot of people have heard something about this in one way, shape, or form, and therein lies some other misconceptions about it. And to kind of give everybody an idea of what I'm trying to do is, I was talking about this with some people a few years back, and it really came to, what would happen with this new core anti-dumping. And there were some discussions of, pricing will go up, or people will or shift to other countries, et cetera, et cetera. And I just kind of sat in the back of my head, and I chewed on it for a while. And I came up with the idea of, okay, well, let's start an entity that basically is a buying group. Now, this isn't reinventing the wheel. There's 12 million members of buying groups in North America. And I think there's some 38,000 buying groups of some fashion throughout the U.S. But none of them are in the fastener world. There's no buying group that's associated with fasteners. So really the model behind this is distributors only, no end users, no master importers. Master importers can participate, but I'll explain that later. It's a distributor-based model where I'll be a focal center point, and I take aggregate or pooled information on top volume parts. Now, the thought or the theory behind all this is I say to the members, next month we're going to buy X commodity. Give me your top 15 SKUs of these commodities you buy over a 6-month time frame. Tell me what your 6-month usage is of the top 15 parts you buy. Every member will send me this information, and I'll keep it confidential. I don't share it with the other members. I then put it into a matrix, and I regurgitate back to them the top 10 parts out of this 15. So there's 10 SKUs a month. We take this 10 SKUs with this enormous volume to it, and we'll go to vendors overseas and quote it, and, of course, buy it that way. When it's purchased, the member is going to handle the freight from the vendor to themselves to keep some information confidential and proprietary to them. The members will all know who the other members are, but if you're not a member, you won't know who the members are. And the members will not be talking about any type of unethical or illegal tactics. In other words, there'll be no price fixing. There'll be no discussions of pricing whatsoever, hence the reason that I'm managing it. If you sent me your information as a member, I keep that confidential. I only use it for a matrix to load up a volume pool of parts. Once the parts are produced and manufactured, they are shipped to that specific member's address via him. He's responsible for freight. With everything that we buy, every part we buy will have a PPAP that's included with it. That is going to be included with each SKU. So if you bought 10 SKUs of parts per month, you'd get 10 PPAPs with it. You are then free to do whatever you like with that quality document. You can pass it along to your customers. You can keep it for security. Whatever you want to do, it's yours to take. It's included in the cost of the goods. And we'll do this every month. I'm looking at it, 6 buys every 6 months, and repeat that process again for the next 6 months so that nobody's taking on a year's worth of inventory. And you can mix and match. If you could put in, if you got 10 SKUs and you say, well, gee, I'm not going to buy a full container of this one particular SKU, you can put whatever you want in that particular container as long as it's within these 10 SKUs and it comes from this, the vendors we're buying from. So you can, in a sense, buy a container that has 10 different SKUs in it and fill a box fairly easy, bring it in and move it, and you're getting the best cost out of it. So, the moral of the story is distributors can now pool their volume together to make good buys with quality vendors overseas that they're aware of. They're informed of who the vendors are. They see what the information is, and they can then participate in this. And, there's an one-time initiation fee to get into this, and the reason for that is we're going to have a little bit of cash that we can utilize to maybe offset some of the problems we may have with the vendor who says we don't have capacity because we don't have wire. We can assist with that with our funding. We can make sure that, what we're buying makes sense. We're going to back it up with the quality. And as a participating member of this, you are also entitled to a rebate through the Global Fastener Network at the end of the year. So depending on how much of product you participate in purchasing throughout the year, you're rebated based off of the amount of participation you have at the end of each year. So not only do you get best cost or the most competitive cost, you also make a little bit of money at the end of the year. And that was the core of it. And then I thought about it and thought, okay, well, how does this all work together? Well, Fidelis can help you with parts that aren't on this top 10 SKU list that you want to buy in high volume, or that are specials through the mill side of things, or there's commodities that you just want to buy. But if there are parts that you don't have demand for that are lower volume or not quite enough to buy from overseas, I thought, well, I'll work with suppliers in the States. And those suppliers could be manufacturers, they could be master importers, or they could be distributors who want to participate in this program. And they will be called Global Fastener Network Preferred Suppliers. What I will do through Global Fastener Network is promote these suppliers to the membership. I'll do magazine subscription promotions and advertisements for them, as well as GFN throughout the year. There'll be an annual meeting that they'll be invited to attend and talk about their wares to the member base. They'll have some pretty powerful marketing arm behind them that's included in them becoming a participant of this Preferred Supplier Club. So now the distributor, who this is all focused on, has the ability to, what I kind of giggle about and call the hat trick. You've got GFN to do your top 10 commodities monthly that you buy and sell. You got Fidelis to do commodities that are high volume that you want to buy direct or have been buying direct. And if you don't have that, you've got now another bullet in the gun with the preferred supplier who's also going to rebate you based off of his participation in it. And from a preferred supplier standpoint, it could be anybody. Whomever the preferred supplier is for this particular product or products, there's a rebate program that's set up amongst them, the preferred supplier, and the distributor based off of their sales. It's not a way for the distributor to just get free money. The rebate is really tiered off of there's a base number, and the base number is what they buy last year. So if I'm a customer and I bought $500,000 from X preferred supplier last year, I don't get rebated until I spend more than that with them. So I think this is, you're helping these distributors find good common ground where they can procure parts from overseas, and they can also get good support domestically. And it'll build a relationship amongst both the domestic suppliers as well as help them with these high volume parts. And, at the end of the day, the parts we're talking about are, 60-ish SKUs that, there's a whole lot of volume behind these parts, but there's not a whole lot of margin. And even the master importers and the manufacturers, the core 20 finished hex nuts and those kind of parts don't sell for high margins. So this is a way just to keep it on a consistent level, keep the pricing as flat and as best as possible, and give these guys some advantage in the market to maintain their business and grow it.
Now, Rob, there was a little bit of confusion about the way that the partnership arrangement with the Global Fastener Network was reported as well. Can you kind of clarify that?
Yeah, there was some discussion about how Lucas and McGuire have formed an importing service. Well, I think that may be some editorial creativity. The importing service is, I would say, more of a consultant or a buying group that I've set up, not an importing service. I don't really plan on importing. As a matter of fact, Global Fastener is not going to be importing anything. As it comes into the country, it'll be brought in by the members' ownership. So I'm not sure if I'm even importing a thing. And by the way, and Global Fastener Network will not be buying product direct themselves. This is strictly for the members, so I will not be an active purchasing participant in this program. And the other part of that was, what was the relationship between Mike McGuire and myself? And there was some discussions about us being partnerships and all this rubbish. The reality of it is, everybody heard this from one article that came out, because I haven't spoke about it at all other than that article, so I'm sure that's where everyone's heard it from. The reality is that Mike is working with me from a marketing standpoint on this to get some promotions out in the AFJ, and it's part of that preferred supplier program I talked to you about, where they're going to have some advertising that's tied directly to them throughout the AFJ as I do articles and publications to it, and that's to promote the preferred suppliers to get them visibility to the members. That's the extent of Mike's relationship in Global Fasteners. So, end of the day, you've got three basic core businesses or functions for the distributor to utilize that will help him to be the most competitive in this market and to manage their inventory the best effective they can. And I believe it makes sense. Again, a buying group is not a new concept. I'm not an inventor of it. It's done in a gajillion different industries throughout North America. And there just wasn't one in the fastener industry, and I thought, I'll do it. And under this role, I can't think of a group where you can get a competitive or best cost, and you make money at the end of the year through a rebate. I think that's got to be attractive to distribution houses. And again, it's for distribution only, and not for end users, and not for master importers or manufacturers. They cannot actively participate in purchases.
Got it. And it seems like a pretty neat crossover with your Fidelis client base. Let me ask you, what's the capacity of the network, Rob? How many companies could conceivably take place in this thing?
Yeah, the membership is open to anybody who meets the criteria, which there'll be a website that's probably going to go live today. There are some criteria that you have to meet in order to become a member, but it's really there to protect the other members. The risk here is as we get into this, united front, we can't afford to have somebody who doesn't meet their end of the deal, because then it would potentially hurt the other members. So we've set up some criteria that make this a pretty level playing field for everybody, and no one person can then kill the rest of the group.
Have you considered a special tattoo or branding or even possibly a secret handshake?
Well, there is a logo, and there's a membership kit that I'll be passing out to the members that join. There's some benefits to that. Again, there's going to be an annual meeting. Another part of this that I didn't brush up against, but I probably should, is as you become a member of the GFN, you have then one vote on an advisory board. So the membership kind of dictates where this network goes.
What's the website for the network, Rob?
It will be www.globalfastenernetwork.com.
Now, Rob, on a slightly lighter note, I noticed you defined the three basic benefits of being a member of the Global Fastener Network as a hat trick. When you go to South Africa, you need to use a slightly different terminology, okay? Because it's very, very specific meaning in South Africa relating to cricket only of a hat trick, okay?
Okay.
It's very rare that it represents a bowler who takes 3 wickets, one after the other, in a row, okay? Has meant that for the last 150 years.
No kidding.
It was first used for cricket and is still used in the cricket playing world. It's a very, very rare occurrence.
I've never seen it.
Every day. You learn something every day.
It's called a hat
trick. Well,
I
just kind of lovingly call it that, and I think it's really, you can call it a trifecta. You can call it whatever you want. It's new ways, and that's kind of what you guys do. You came up with a new idea that you're trying to penetrate the market on. It's having success. I did this with Fidelis. It was a new model that people, when I started off, and to this day, sometimes still look at me and go, I don't understand it, because it's new. But as they start to play with it and get it, it makes sense to them. And I think the GFN or the Global Fastener Network is going to be the same. It has rhyme or reason behind it. It makes strategic sense for the distributor or the member. And the question is, well, what if these guys try to go around it? It's not a matter of that per se, because any one particular member who tries to leave the membership and go do this on their own just won't benefit by the volume of what we're buying. You're winning by volume on here. Mm-hmm. And one alone can't achieve the same cost as many. And that's really what this is about. And I think for these particular parts where it's traditionally been very, very low margins, and they're the highest end commodities with the lowest costs, it's a way to at least get a little savings in your back pocket. And I believe the savings are attractive enough that it will offset most anything. And I think it's going to be attractive enough for people to revisit how they purchase. And if we can do it and hold 6 months of inventory instead of 12 months of inventory, and they can do it twice a year, you've got some competitive advantage overseas.
Well, we'll certainly be watching. And again, the website for that is globalfastenernetwork.com. I hope we'll get a chance to speak to you. I know we will at the November NIFS West Show in Vegas, but in between now and then, there's the Taiwan show you're hitting, and I hope you'll give us a report from there. Does that sound like a plan?
Absolutely. This trip here I'm leaving on tomorrow is going to be as quick as I can push it to do a couple of things and take care of some business. I'll do all I can to keep you guys updated. If any changes in the market come up, I'll share them with as many people as I can. I will certainly be visiting the Taiwan Fastener Show. I've already booked my reservations and registration, and I'll be into China after that, and I'm going to get a feel for what's going on over there. So by the time Vegas comes up, we'll have a really good setting for knowledge for what I'm going to talk about in my presentation there as well.
Perfect. Rob Lucas, thanks for joining us again on Fully Threaded.
Hey, thanks, guys. Good to talk to you from home for a change.
Right. Enjoy it.
There's more Fully Threaded coming up next.
FastenersClearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who've ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
This is Don Shin from Solution Industries, home of Solution Man, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you at the virtual Fastener Funhouse.
Well, it's not virtual, it's real.
Well, it's online. You know, they call all that stuff virtual these days.
Okay.
But what's not virtual is the Global Fastener Network, and that was a very, very interesting explanation that Rob just gave us.
Yes, I would think people will be discussing that for a while, actually.
Well, we'll be following that, and he'll keep us advised, I'm sure. Now, regarding the idea of the secret handshaker tattoo, I don't think that's such a bad idea, you know. I mean, it's going to be kind of a secret society of sorts, right?
Yeah, it has to be that. I mean, actually, probably, I think in America, the idea of a tattoo or something is just a little bit not quite acceptable here.
It's mainstream now. 8th graders have them.
Oh, yeah. Right. I don't think too many in the fast industry do, though, okay?
Well, you know, that brings up a question. I'd be very interested to know how many people in the fastener world actually have a tattoo of a nut or a bolt or something.
You're being serious, eh?
Well, you know, I wonder.
Why would you want, with all the things you can actually have, why would you want a nut or a bolt?
Well, I'm not saying I would, but there are a lot of fastener geeks out there. I'll tell you, the guy who would know this would be Andy Pells of ScrewCrew.com. Have you been looking at some of the weird stuff he has on that site? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, he's been planning that stuff for a fair while.
Yeah, folks, I'll tell you, if you haven't gone to look, take a look at ScrewCrew.com one of these days. It's really worth a few minutes.
Yeah, it is.
And we'll take a moment now to thank our guests, Mark Lenhart of the NFDA, Mr. Gary Polipnick of Fastenal, and, of course, Rob Lucas of Global Fastener Network. Now, Rob is going to be presenting at the Educational Forum at the Las Vegas show in November, as we mentioned, and we'll also be there. Our presentation will be on Tuesday the 9th. I believe it's at 3 p.m. out there in Las Vegas, and hopefully you'll stop by and see us, everybody, and support your FCH guys, you know?
Right. We like support like that.
That's right, we do. And we also like to hear from you. And so please let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you think of the show. Or if you have suggestions, tell us that too. You can communicate with us at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com.
And you also know that you can subscribe to the podcast. It's not as complicated as it seems. Just click on a button on the right-hand side of the Fully Threaded page, and that will subscribe you to iTunes, where you can put it on your iPhone, or it will go to your iPhone. You also can find us on Podcast Alley, which we're now on, and if things have gone right, you should shortly be able to subscribe to Fully Threaded on your BlackBerry. There's no equivalent of iTunes on a BlackBerry, but you can do it directly from the newer operating system versions of BlackBerries. So that should be cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. So we've mentioned this before. We've kind of inadvertently developed this sub-theme in the show of beer, and we certainly had a little to report on tonight. And
no, actually, you may have developed this whole sub-theme of beer, actually.
That's true. I stand guilty, but there's a story comes to us by way of popsci.com that probably most of us haven't read yet, but definitely worth a look. Headline, First Beer Brewed for Drinking in Space Will Undergo Testing in Low-Gravity Pub. Did you get wind of this one yet, Brian?
I have not seen this. So now where is the low-gravity pub?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if it's answered, but here's a little bit of background on this. The first couple of sentences. With the announcement that Boeing plans to take tourists into space in a few years, it was really only a matter of time before someone started thinking about refreshments. Luckily, Astronauts for Hire, nonprofit Space Refreshment Corporation, has the situation in hand. They're about to test an Australian beer that's brewed and bottled especially for consumption in microgravity.
So the assumption, I suppose, is that since everyone in Australia wanders around upside down, that they can test the beer out better there.
Hadn't thought of that one, but it is a neat little tie-in.
Right, not that great.
You know, it reminds me several years back when we were packing our beer in on a fishing trip that one time, and I came up for the idea that it would be a much more efficient thing to do to bring in powdered beer. And then all you do is add carbonated water, and you'd have as much as you need.
Yes. See, I remember that very, very well. That was a trip up in the Boundary Waters where we were struggling across portages and things, pushing our big keg of beer, and decided that it would actually probably be easier if we just had a bit of powder we could sprinkle in lake water.
Exactly. Just like with the problem with taking it up into space. You know, you have that storage and that weight issue. Thus, the powdered beer idea.
So what were you going to call this powdered beer?
Well, of course, you know what the space people drink in the powdered orange drink. Of course, we would call this Bang.
Okay, mate. Well, let's call it a show because that is a terrible joke.
Well, you might be right. And if so, then it's the perfect way to put episode number 12 in the books.
Good.
For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fasteners Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
I can't think of anything else to say at the moment, okay?